Xbox has built up an impressive suite of first-party studios with most of their biggest games still yet to be released, and the delivery of next generation have been slow to arrive as Xbox Studios transition into a true next generation and Unreal Engine 5 games. New developments on the all-new Unreal Engine 5.3 bring more efficiency and some insane new features that will blow people away and show us what true potential lies in the Xbox Series S and Xbox Series S. Xbox Game Studios have revealed several new games in the works, and most of them have shifted to Unreal Engine 5, an engine that is so new it has not seen new big games release yet. Redfall is a total outlier, with the game launching on Unreal Engine 4 at console at 30 FPS, and the visual graphics don't scream next generation or even current generation. But most of Xbox's first-party games are being built on either Unreal Engine 5 or Starfield, being built on a massively overhauled Creation Engine 2.0 over what made Fallout 4 in 2015. Fans are wondering if Xbox games can meet expectations of visuals and performance on Xbox Series consoles, which up to this point have been very underwhelming. But the state of big games like Perfect Dark, Starfield, and Hellblade 2 hinge on what is possible on these new engines. Let's look at what the future brings. But one of the most important and impressive parts of Unreal Engine 5 is the reduction of developer work time with instant results for AAA realistic and dynamic renders of environments and animated characters. And one of Xbox's most secretive games, Perfect Dark from the Initiative, has seen a game that is being built in Unreal Engine 5 that will speed up an already long developer process. One of the hooks for Perfect Dark is a body cam, a first-person GoPro-like first-person shooter player perspective that will give a dynamic and real true-to-life feel as Joanna Dark moves around the world in a modern and tech-heavy Egypt. Drama Studios' unrecorded demo of gameplay shows the type of feel and look that we will have with Perfect Dark, although with a different visual aesthetic that is very in tune to what Crystal Dynamics has been able to do with games like Tomb Raider and punchy cinematic movie-like visuals we got in the Marvel's Avenger game. The geometry tools allow games like Perfect Dark to bring in more realism and scale to an open world, new for Unreal Engine and new for the Initiative and Crystal Dynamics. Vegetation or buildings can be modified in real time using procedural generation and easy visual modifiers to shape the world in lifelike ways, cutting down on dev time and fully rendered thanks to the new architecture in the Xbox Series consoles. Starfield has been marketed with about 15 minutes of total in-game footage, all but just a few seconds shown at 30 FPS before the initial delay from 2022. The latest trailer in 2023 in March showed a brief in-game cinematic that renders at 60 during the year-long delay to the end of this year. Let's look at Starfield. The big concern is performance, or the frame rate being at 30 FPS. Looking at the hardware, we have a 3.8 GHz processor in the Xbox Series S and X that are staggeringly 4 times faster than the Xbox One. Fallout 4 uses much of the same design criteria with more demanding lighting, shadows, and texture work, making Starfield a much more visually improved game. These features do not translate into a frame rate restrictive output. The Xbox Series S and X have regularly proven to play most every single game in the open world at 60 FPS regardless of the game engine being used. Analysis show that Starfield uses very few performance killers. No global illumination, no ray tracing, just baked-in lighting, and cube maps for simple, less intensive reflective surfaces to keep this massive open universe looking believable while still manageable for the hardware. You can't have it both ways. You can't say Starfield doesn't look next generation, but say it can't run at 60 FPS on a console that is 4 times more powerful than last generation. One of the main concerns that pours over the shocking news that Redfall will be launching at 30 FPS on console is that Starfield might not have a performance mode due to expectations set by Todd Howard and Murphy's Law for Xbox's team, and that 30 FPS is the future of next-generation games on Xbox and PS5 as visuals and cutting-edge tech take up the rendering budget for big AAA games. Unreal Engine 5 has shaved off 3.1 milliseconds in games to just 1.5 milliseconds at equal quality and now can provide higher quality levels thanks to this and other GPU savings throughout the render comfortably above 50% resolution on Xbox Series X, leaving extra GPU headroom. On the Xbox Series S, Unreal Engine 5 can reduce display resolution as well as other effects in-game to make sure that the rendering resolution remains reasonably high, on average about 68 to 75% of 1080p, to maintain enough information to converge to better image quality, or better said, you can get the visual quality and resolution you'd expect on screen with better performance. Digital Foundry actually says the opposite. They say, quote, "Our understanding is that the latest rendition is more performant and it can only get better. It's also our contention that developers such as the Coalition, custodians of Gears of War franchise, would loathe to return to 30 FPS, close quote. Even Digital Foundry's own online poll shows that the large majority of gaming fans don't mind 30 FPS in this new gaming generation, but the core audience demands 60 FPS as a minimum. Some developers, like the senior character artist Del Walker from Naughty Dog, who also worked at Rocksteady and Respawn, says that, quote, "Unreal Engine 5 has incredible tools that can give you a phenomenal number of environment solutions that took too long before. Just don't expect 60 FPS with all that new cheesecake. It's simply too much bells, whistles, nanite mesh, and ray tracing to just create a, quote, performance mode," close quote. But Digital Foundry gives a light at the end of the tunnel, saying that they explain that while many AAA game makers may turn to Unreal Engine 5, there is no obligation to use all of its cutting-edge rendering features in combination. The standard renderer will always be there. Also, using nanites and lumen, very demanding geometry and lighting features, may not be a target for Unreal Engine 5 games if the studio wants to offer performance mode, as most every single game has this generation. In fact, nearly 100% of the big games released on new consoles over the past 2 to 3 years have launched with a 60 FPS mode or offered a mode between 60 or high resolution with ray tracing. Ninja Theory has been working on a massive upgrade from their AA Senua Sacrifice to an open-world masterclass that looks more like a high-production film on screen than any realistic video game, and that's all happening thanks to Unreal Engine 5 and the talent at Ninja Theory. This is a culmination of excellent Xbox Series console hardware, world-class motion capture technique, and the best visual rendering thanks to Ninja Theory artists and Unreal Engine 5's new MetaHuman software. MetaHuman in Unreal Engine 5 allows developers to work faster and realize their vision immediately. A created character is only believable if its visual fidelity matches its animation quality. And Ninja Theory was previously creating characters over several months before they could see the results in their final form. MetaHuman in Unreal Engine 5 utilizes the 4D pipeline of creating and animating a character in real near time on just one PC. Using all 12 cores of an AMD Threadripper CPU paired with a GTX 3090 GPU, developers can process MetaHuman in minutes on one production desktop machine. MetaHuman uses depth and information in the video to create a 3D model of the actor, and even uses audio frequencies during speech to animate the mouth and tongue realistically. So for a few seconds of performance capture, one production PC can render a near full ready production of the game and its created character in just 1 minute. Digital Foundry explains that why we've seen the proliferation of 60 or 120 FPS game modes over the last couple of years is largely down to a cross-generation console game development. The need to support platforms with CPUs as weak as the AMD Jaguar in the Xbox One console and PS4 console, that the processing power is instantly there, at least to double performance on the latest console hardware. The graphics side of the equation is still more scalable. Even Digital Foundry admits that games like Plague's Tale Requiem and Gotham Knights not being at 60 FPS is down to the authorship of the game, or better said, to design decisions that don't work on gaming hardware, and brute force cannot save games like Plague's Tale, Gotham Knights, or even right now, Redfall, which has been, as they assume, top-heavy in its design and needs to be changed in the future to run at 60. As new generation games, as we actually get away from cross-generation releases in 2023, will rely on upscaling, temporal super resolution, machine learning, resolution boost, and a host of other benefits that will make games look sharp, and counting pixels will be completely obsolete. Yes, prioritizing 60 frames or 120 frames per second for performance modes on brand new games. Unreal Engine 5.3 has more intensive and more demanding features as games call for bigger detail and more lively worlds. As developers leave behind older Unreal Engine design philosophies and create their worlds with these advanced and more efficient features in mind, we will truly start to see the line between video games and realism blur. This is Colt Eastwood. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I'm super excited about Unreal Engine 5 and the move into true next generation. We are in a full cross-generation situation right now, but as we move into longer in the development cycle, when games start to look better and better midway through the generation, we'll get to see what true potential lies and how Xbox can deliver on those promises. But it's time for me to say something at greater length than I usually do. If you watch this channel for a long time, or you watch the XSC podcast, you hear a lot of criticism that I have to give to Xbox. And normally there are things that I've always criticized about Xbox, and I put them in almost every video with statements like Xbox needs to improve on their first party output, or Xbox needs to make more AAA games, or Xbox needs to release games at a better regular interval, or that Xbox is not using the power of the console to its greatest advantage. But as the outfall for Redfall has come in, it seems that we're in a situation where Xbox can never, ever meet expectations. Can Xbox do what they say they're going to do? Marketing hasn't been on point, but me with a marketing background knowing it's very difficult to market something that has had a difficult time actually getting traction. And Xbox doing things like allowing Arcane and Tango Gameworks to just port up a version of the game and saying, yeah, looks pretty good, that's good enough. Good enough is not what you do when you're in the position of Xbox, where they need to make sure that everything they do is at its utmost perfect and its best quality. The team is huge, the funding is massive, and there's no excuse for Xbox to not dive into every little nuance of their platform and deliver with utmost supremacy. That they can't sit back and say, you know what, this is good enough, here's another controller. There are big games and I expect them to be really good. I've dove into every detail about what those games can do and the potential of how great they can be. But then there's that asterisk that's really been hovering over our heads for several years. Like, Xbox can do so many great things, but will they deliver on this? Will they fail on that? Normally, you know that we talk about the good news. Even if I have something to say about PlayStation, something I don't like about PlayStation or Xbox, it's a passing comment. You can always go back, rewind it, and hear it again. I don't beat a dead horse as it is. I want to hear about it in the comment section. If you end up enjoying this video and you're able to make it through, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new content. And if you want to further support what we're doing here on the Colt Eastwood channel, you can hit the join button below, or you can join the Patreon. Both of those get you early access to videos and monthly merch giveaways. Also, on the XSC podcast, we talk about news and information. We interview people and we talk about what's coming and what to expect. And you'll hear that criticism and you'll hear the excitement as well. And that's really what it's all about. I'm sure you feel the same. Remember, I think Redfall's an outlier. Let me know in the comment section. And while you're there, please remember, be nice.